Tanner, Tech Tanner, Tanner, Tech Tanner, Tech Tanner. Hello, this is Tanner Tech. And today we're going to be doing something cool and making these little solder sculptures. These solder sculptures are pretty cool and they look like these big globs of solder all stuck together to make one cool sculpture. Here's two of them together. Well, today I'm going to show you how to make these things. So if you haven't noticed, this is my setup from a previous video that I did, where I took a water bottle and filled it with cotton balls and connected it to a shop vac over there to attempt to filter out all the solder smoke that is coming off solder. And I use this setup to actually measure the amount of solder smoke and see its effect on cotton balls. You can check out that video link in the description. Well, anyway, I realized while doing this project that you can do something really cool and make some really cool pieces of art like these. So let's get started. Now what you have to do here is actually very simple. So you turn on the shop vac and you get a soldering iron. Then you're going to want to get some relatively thick solder. This solder is 1.2 millimeter solder. And what you're going to do is just heat it up over the heat sink. Actually, my soldering iron's off. And after you heat it up over the heat sink, it'll drop as a ball and it will just hit the heat sink. And you want to keep doing that and just build it layer by layer, like building one of those cool water dripping sandcastles. And eventually you'll be able to have an entire stack of solder drippings that'll look really cool. Alright, here we go. Let's get started. I'll show you first without the shop vac on, and I'll show you how much smoke it creates actually. So you heat this up. As you can see, it's generating a large amount of smoke. And then it's falling onto the little heat sink, and then you can build it up. Let's turn on the shop vac. These really cool sculptures, you have a few different options. You can either make these sculptures as standalone sculptures out of solder like this, where you just melt the solder over and over again until you get a little bit of a tower, like this one, or like this one. Or you can build these devices, or you can build these cool little sculptures on top of other surfaces, such as on top of this quarter. Now the two colors match, and all this is a relatively short little stack of solder blobs. It looks really cool just due to its kind of globularness on top of the quarter. So I think this is a cool little piece of art that is used right now. So I think this is a really cool piece of art. You have all of the globs of solder all stuck together, and they can form really cool art pieces. Alright, so that's it. That's a simple way to make really cool looking sculptures out of molten solder using just a soldering iron and a roll of solder. Now, each of these things uses quite a lot of solder and it wastes big rolls of solder. Now, the cool thing about these art pieces is that you can just recycle them if you have a solder pot. Now, a solder pot is a device that you use to melt solder for tinning wires and such, and you can just dump these right into the solder pot to recycle them. Now, as always, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed me making these really cool solder sculptures, and I hope that you can make some of them yourselves. As always, thanks for watching, and stay tuned for next time.